Hi everyone, it's 27th of August 24. It's Tuesday and I'm talking about reform. I've got 12% in a poll in Norstat 40 times or whatever, I think it was, 2 days ago. So this is a big breakthrough. They're up 5%. And what a relief. I've called this sort of waking up day for Ireland. Or could it be? It depends if it goes back down again, because we've seen this in Germany and that, because the people of the West are too nice, so they don't really want to do this, But I say, if you want to save the country, you need to forget everything else. You've really got to save the country now. If you think it's not going to work for anybody, there's not going to be any winners. It's going to be anarchy for everyone. There's not going to be any winners at all. Anyone who's come recently or whatever, it's going to be bad for everyone. In my opinion, the West are just going to be the worst societies ever to exist, probably, because it's an unnatural situation. It's only happened in the UK over the last 75 years. Humans have been evolving for, I don't know, 300,000 years or something. This new thing for Britain is 75 years. For Australia, it was like 1972. For Canada, it was like 1972 as well. Like New Zealand, 1995 or something. Ireland, 1995. Yeah. America made straight from the start, but up until around about 1960, they were still 90% of a group who built the most desirable country in the world, especially to people from other continents. It's probably their number one choice, and these people rule out their own continents and other continents. They don't even consider them for a minute. They would take it as an insult. Have you told to some people that we can get you as far west as Turkey, they would say, well, we're not accepting it. It's unacceptable. So, yeah, I just want to show this poll because, like I say, I've been waiting for this breakthrough. I thought it would never come from Scotland because Scottish women are too nice. The Scottish women that like Rabbie Burns and that are too nice. Those Rabbie Burns statues will be toppled someday, and the SNP leaders will be there to applaud toppling. But someday these SNP people who like Rabbie Burns and that, they're all going to vote reform because, and the women are going to be hysterical. So I just want to show this poll because it's the final breakthrough I've been looking for. I didn't think it would come because looking at Ireland at the moment, Ireland's looks a total disaster, but people are, and Sinn Féin's have went down from about 26% to 19%, but they're still voting Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They're still voting the three parties. They just had council elections. They voted the same three parties. You can't vote the same. You've got to forget that, Germany's going through the same as well. They've got the A party over there as a protest vote on this single issue. There's also that new B party, but I'm not so keen on that one because it looks as if it's smoke and mirrors, really. But I heard the other day in Germany, because they just had that thing where 3 people were hit with a knife. I'm just careful with the words or whatever. Yeah, I think it was a sort of diver DJ thing or something. Yeah, apparently the leader of the CDU, the Conservative Party, basically there, Merkel's party, who let in a lot of people in 2016. Apparently he said that Germany needs to stop taking people from AF and SIR. I couldn't agree on more, but you need to add about another 30 countries to that, but those two in particular women are going to get a shock how their countries are changed by in the near future, and we're going to have big numbers from these two countries in particular. Yeah, I think women are going to be hysterical, actually. There's going to be things in the news all the time, really. There is already, but it's going to it's really everywhere now, and so you might have problems at school or with a doctor. There was a doctor the other day who made a lady who lost her husband, made her cry, so that he could know that he was empathetic, a test or something like that. Yeah, so you need to look that up yourself to understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, I just want to, let's share. Yeah, let me see. I need to do this a funny way. Yeah, so this is, I think, Breakthrough is deeply happy for me, deeply uplifting. So Neil Findlay, who seems a good guy, he's for the Tories. It's funny because his Daily Record colleagues are still not convinced he is a Tory, you know, because he worked there for 30 years as a crime reporter or something. Anyway, I think he was a good leader from what I know, you know, just the surface level, but Tories and Labour are irrelevant now anyway. You know, it's really just reform, I would say. If you vote Green, Labour and that, and you like Nicola Sturgeon's views on women's rights, I would say you need to vote reform. You know, you need to save Nicola from herself, really, basically. So, yeah, but he's saying Scottish Conservatives a breakthrough for reform is deeply concerning for his party. The North Star poll, the Sunday Times, put Nigel Farage's party on 8 MSPs. I think it'll be more than that, actually, when it comes. I think when is it, next year or the year after? As well as Alex Salmond's Alba party on 4 seats. And that's a bad thing, because Alex is even worse than the SNP on the subject, the single issue subject, all that matters. It has the SNP on 40 seats, just ahead of Labour on 40. It'd be unlikely SNP the First Minister, so they would be 41 seats. That's down from like 62 or something, 61. I mean, SNP are finished now. And personally, I think it's all to do with single issue, but people have got weird ways of showing it. You know, the thing about single issue and the woke things, I would say the woke thing is a sort of thing for native Brits and for Americans who created and for Australians who created the desirable Australia that many continents want to go to. You know, these groups of people, these sort of things are in between. And Nicola, you could say, has went off the scale when you think how she went women's rights. You know, I mean, they're just going to be in a situation where all Olympic gold medals and women's events are going to go a certain way, you know, and apparently Nicola would applaud that, you know. But what I'm saying here is, yeah, I'm hoping this is a breakthrough. The Greens would be on 10 MSPs, Lib Dem on 8, and a total 18. So that's really good. I think at some point, we total for any burns and stuff, and they're just going to abandon. They're all going to be voting for him on this single issue once they wake up. I don't know how they haven't woken up already, but it's going to affect you in every part of life, and you're going to think, I'm going to vote for anybody, you know. And then we're going to have the politicals. They're going to get politicians in. That really happened, and I mean, one way it'll be mainstream parties, but we're going to have identity parties coming through big time, like we have in Britain now. We get 4 elected on identity down in England for the latest election. So it's really the first 4. Labour will lose many MPs to identity parties. And they're going to gang up against, you know, another group to deal with each other. But this woke thing is the sort of thing that Westerners of a specific type think me. So it's a big struggle between them, because I don't think others are too bothered. You know, if you see a Green cause in Scotland. It looks like a safe space, basically. And I'm on to that story now. In fact, I'll come on to it now. Yeah, this was an interesting little story Daily Express picked up. It was during the election, the British election. Scottish Greens reported to police for stirring up hatred against a election candidate. And it's really interesting, this, because in my opinion, probably both sides are right. I mean, for the Greens to report someone like that to the police is a shocker straight away. You would think it was unthinkable, really, because it would be the last thing they want to do given the situation. A furious rout-off between two minor nationalist parties, with Alba accusing the Greens of attempting to pit Scots of against each other. And we've had this already with Humza when he took that nursery to the nursery. He was going to take them to court, and then they settled out of court, but the nursery said that they were too scared. Just stressed out, they just settled because they wanted it over with. And ironically, that was about a month before Humza became leader. So if they hadn't settled it, Humza would have had that around his neck as a leader of Scotland, and I may have been really embarrassed for him. I mean, I don't know one way or the other, but it may have been embarrassing for him and showing us how the country's going to go. You know, this is two groups. We've got 100 new groups in Scotland between, you know, ERA, T, you know, pro and anti-government. You know, the government made both of them British. So this is an interesting story. Alex Salmond's Alba Party has reported the Scottish Greens for an alleged hate crime and accused the party of stirring up religious hatred against an election candidate. Furious response follows a published earlier on Saturday by the National. Alba's Glasgow South candidate had made a comment about that people in an offensive social media post. The report describes him as and says he is standing in a constituency with Scotland's largest nation. It also describes him as a staunch supporter of a Prime Minister of overseas and his centre-right. Yeah. They and Maud have been in power since 2014, although the party has led to a blah blah, which has been accused of attacks on, has a long and troubled history of British. Neither of them wanted to stay in that beautiful warm countries. Everyone looks summer. According to the National, he tweeted in 2014, National does not get. So this is interesting because I think this is going to be a problem for newcomer communities. They're not going to like it. We've already seen a few cases where a mother was following her son, I think, to the Asda in Cumbernauld. I think they were from somewhere else originally, but he fell for a young lady who worked with him. I wonder how that marriage is getting on, you know. But anyway, she tagged his car or something. So we've got all this from this Mr. The original quality, and then he's saying so purity he's talking about. I think this looks to be quite important to some communities, you know. And then they'll pose for photos with Nicola Sturgeon, who they know will call Rabbie Burns supporters who are anxious, who are anxious about it. She'll call them the R word, you know, the sort of Nicola's got their back. She'll pose for photos with them and that, you know. This is a reference to that family, which is linked to the. So I don't really know what he's talking about. Does that mean he's talking about they're good or bad? Or anyway, it's all about purity anyway. Nehru dynasty. And then he's saying it's bad by the looks of it. Yeah. The article quotes Niall Christie, the Scottish Green candidate, because he's saying, what the support for that party and Mode, party who have consistently demonised them, say to voters in Glasgow South. So here we go. So this is us. Someone who probably, well, at least liked Ravi Burns, maybe doesn't anymore, I don't know. I always said the Greens were attempting to pit the two groups, Scottish groups, against each other. The party said. General Secretary Chris McElhinney has reported the incident to Police Scotland. Yeah, because we've got a new hate law. Yeah, there we go. So Hums's law, as I'll call it. So here we go. This is the Alba Party chair. Said the behaviour of the Green Party is disgusting. It is truly appalling to attempt to pit Scottish two groups, community against each other as part of the general election campaign. So for it to be the Greens of all people, you know, it must be pretty serious. They must think it's pretty serious. He has been a leading light in the Alba Party. That's what I was saying. The Alba Party is going big time on us. They're probably the worst of the whole lot on wanting to make Scots who like Ravi Burns a minority, basically, as soon as possible. I mean, all the parties want to do that. The Tories a bit slower. Labour and SNP really want to crank it up, because I think it's due around about the 2050s. But according to Professor David Coleman, he did say 2060s really, but I mean, things have sped up. We've had 2 or 3 record years under Boris and Rishi. Rishi just halted it recently, but Labour are going to reverse all those things that halted, that slowed it down, only slightly, by the way. I mean, it was what? It was 700k net this year, but that's like 1.4 million new people from different continents. It's not even from the EU anymore. Although 80% of the EU people were probably from those continents as well. That was just their way in, but now they just come straight over. Once Boris made it 16,000 salary, or 18,000 or something, plus families. He has been a wider equality structure. He has campaigned with, and obviously I've got 2 candidates where they are. Here's the new communities, which are going to be a majority Sunday. All who call Scotland home. Of course, unlike the Greens, Alba actually have, and this is an excellent point, so the Greens don't have any, and this is what I'm saying, Greens, there's conferences look like a safe space. They look like Scotland in the 1960s or the 1940s. So it's a very good point by Tasmina there. I like Tasmina, you know. I mean, she seems maybe a bit incompetent, but I like her anyway. Yeah. I have the utmost confidence that the behaviour and attempts of the Scottish Green Party to stop racial and divisions will be rejected by voters. And in the meantime, Alba's party's General Secretary has reported the Scottish Green Party to Police Scotland to investigate them. So, it's fantastic. For a breach of their own. Yes, the Greens were involved. Well done, Tasmania, and that. So I just wanted to show that this is the way things are going to go. So you need to get used to it. The ladies of Scotland will need to get used to it. So back to this poll then, let's see. The polling suggests that Nigel Farage's Reform Party would win 8 MSPs. One modern Labour would win 40. I'll share this one. This is a national, so this is the Scottish one. I would expect this to be very diluted, you know. Although there's not much to say about it. So maybe they're not looking the right way, though. What's important about it? What's important is a breakthrough for reform in Scotland. As I say, 12%, up 5%. And they're doing it on how many seats the people will have. I'm not bothered. so much. So SNP wouldn't have a majority. As I say, SNP and Labour, Tories, they're all going to get pushed aside anyway. It's going to be Reform, maybe ALA, some independent, some new identity parties. But the good thing about Reform is hysterical women in 10 years' time, hysterical Scots women are going to say Reform on this issue are far too soft, and they're right. But for now, you just have to shift the Overton window, you know. So it's an Overton window shift, a single issue. And as I said, we're heading for anarchy. We're all going to be anarchy. It's going to be bad for everyone, in my opinion. The London mayor has a different view. He thinks it's going to be fantastic. Nobody's going to arrest him for saying that or whatever, you know. He can speak freely on it. The newspaper reports that Alexa Nanotsi are replacing Swinney with support from 18 Scottish Tories and 8 Lib Dems. But I'm not bothered about that anyway, as I say. This is important, but Reform. No, that's oh, that's not it. This is a different one. No, that's from a while back. So they were 9% there, they went up 3%. So they went up 3% in June, and now they're up to 12%. So that's fantastic. I'll need to find this new poll for you. Let's check the Herald. Scottish Conservative candidate Russell Finlay says a poll suggesting a Scottish Parliament rate for Reform UK is deeply concerning. To me, it's uplifting for his party. So as I say, I'm saying it's one issue, Overton window shift, single issue. Reform are too soft on it, but it's where we need to start. So this was in August the 22nd. So Tories have currently got 31 MPs, and it's saying they would be down to 18. So Reform took 7 in Scotland in the general election. So that was pretty big, you know. I mean, I've voted for them. They came in second in quite a few places, I think, or third. Well, down in England anyway, they came to about 93 seats they came in second. I'm just hoping that people can vote as quickly as possible. I mean, the reaction people should have to what happened in early August and what Keir said, everyone should be voting Reform. Everyone who likes the Union Jack or the Scottish flag. So let's see what else it says here. Nothing, I think. No. Let's see the Standard. So it's the same info there about how many seats, but it's not telling you the actual thing. The poll today in the Sunday Times is deeply concerning. That's why our party, the Scottish Conservatives, have to get their house in order. Well, to do that, they're going to have to make a big change on their view on the single issue, even though you're not got the power in Scotland. Scotland's seen as a very soft thing, same as Ireland. I'm not telling you again. I'm not telling you. No, I didn't tell you. So I'm going to have to look at my one. This is what I got from Britain. There we go. So this is what it is. Reform 12% up 5. And that's a really big change, really. Greens still down, Lib Dems down 2. So this is excellent news. If they could go up another 5 to 17% within the next month, I'd be really happy. And this has happened after Keir said that those people were bussed in. They were of a certain persuasion, they were from certain group who were disbanded 10 years ago. Personally, I think Gear should be charged with fake news, because looking at the naming and quote shaming of them, it looks like they're local people, a lot of them middle-aged or older. Most of them have got jobs. Their families are probably traditional Labour supporters. The towns they come from are Labour towns. It seems a lot of their fury was round about hotels around their area. To me, it was a big shock at how angry people were. I mean, to me, it tells you that people are really, really angry, because it was totally disorganised. They were really angry, and of course it was caused by a tragedy that is pretty unusual in Britain, you know, but it seems to be becoming more common. Like we had the thing in Germany this week, 3 people, you know, we had a policeman in Germany around about in May, because the whole West is going to go through the same thing. It's not like that man with a long crime thingy and in America who died at the hands of a policeman. It's not like that, where there's no relation to in the West. I think the people of the West can feel these things relate, that they're all going through the same thing. And a lot of them have already changed it. I think in Germany, a lot of people don't realise, I think they've brought border checks back to their border with Switzerland, Austria, Poland, and another one. And they said they brought it in, I think it was October last year, due to irregular stuff going on so much. And it was maybe temporary and they're going to relift it, but they haven't yet. And now there's talk that they might just put border checks on the whole German border. You know, it's going to go that way anyway, whether they want to or not. They don't want to. It's going to go that way across whole Europe, because there's going to be so many incidents. That looks like the thing mainly that's going to change their mind, or they're going to lose at the ballot box, because there's some elections coming up in Germany, and it's regional elections, mainly East Germany, and it looks like the A party are going to do really well. I mean, they're known to do well there, but they're doing really well. So, and that's what you've got to do. It's a protest vote. I've no interested in reforms or other policies. It's just a protest vote because the other parties aren't listening. So that's what you've got to do. In my opinion, if you care about Nicola Sturgeon and Yvette Cooper's views on women's rights, you need to vote reform. It's too late already, but you need to, because it's going to turn out, which you'll find out, that Nicola's views on women's rights weren't Scottish values or British values. Nicola and Yvette's, they were the values of women and men who identify with Nicola and Hingme. And so we've got a big group of new Brits, and they'll have their own views on women's rights. And quite right, because they're British now, you know. So they'll have their own views, they'll get their politicians elected. And at that time, Nicola and Yvette might say, no, you can't do that. They might slander them in some way, and then these people will be able to say, we're British. What are you talking about? It's British values, Scottish values. So, yeah, personally, I think we're heading for anarchy, and now it's got to the stage where we're going to have to look at the opposite, really. And I think Sweden have started that already. They're looking at funding, giving funding to people. And the reason is because it's not going to work for anybody, and it's going to be a total anarchy. So we're just going to have to wait. But thankfully, hopefully, the Scottish people have finally woken up, man. I do hope so. It's funny in Scotland because I come from sort of Irish Scottish heritage, and of course up till 1952, I think Scotland was always conservative, or conservative and unionist party. Up till about 1952, I think Labour started doing well. And now it's really a Labour SNP country. And I think a lot of that might have to do with the Irish who came over. I'm not sure. I mean, I was that sort of voter myself until I woke up, basically, until I saw how the country's going to go. I was like 6 or 7 years ago, although I was always anxious. I always thought it was a bad idea. I think it's when you really see your own city or whatever changing. I mean, all British towns are going to become like London, Birmingham, Leicester, Manchester. I mean, Birmingham and Manchester have just changed without us even noticing, really. I think they're over 50% now. Newcastle and Glasgow, they're on the way. They're like 20% now or something. If you think it's going to be great, you have nothing to worry about, you know. If you don't think it's going to be great, you need to abandon the left and the Tories, and you need to vote reform as soon as possible, including council by-elections, because usually councillors welcome people to hotels and social housing, especially if they're left councillors. So you've just got to tell them to stop, basically, and that's your only protest forum on. Okay, that's me for now.